Parry, parry, parry. Should you watch I Parry Everything? I Parry Everything is the story of Noor. He dreamt of being an adventurer since he was a child, but he lived with his sickly mother on a small farm, far away from civilization, where he took care of her. One day she apologized to him and told him to live the life he wants, and when he returned from herding the goats in the evening, he found her dead. You would think that now he could go and fulfill his dream of becoming an adventurer, motivated by his mother's last wish for him. And that would be true, if he weren't like 10 years old. Then again, he has been told a total lie about what an adventurer really is.
冒険者って？
そうだな。ある時は仲間と一緒に巨大な竜を倒し、ローマ術師に魔法を教わり、森にかけられた呪いを解き、精霊の王から万病を癒す薬を手に入れる。どんな困難があっても。
But his house was also covered by a magic barrier, so maybe his father was just the hero of the story. Well, he goes to the town to register as an adventurer, but the guy manning the counter doesn't let him? Instead, he sends him to the training academy, where you learn skills for your class. And he spent 3 months at each school, meaning at least 18 months, only to learn not a single serious skill. So the guy at the counter just plain refuses to let him register? Isn't that what ranks are for? And why does the guy even care if he throws his life away? Well, dejected, he just goes and trains for the next 14 years. He still hasn't learned any new skills, but his parry skill can now parry 1000 swords in one move. So he decides to give it another try at the guild. So apparently the entire adventurer ranking system is based on the skills, entirely ignoring knowledge and actual strength. There's no test for your abilities, you only write down your skills on a piece on paper. Not even a demonstration is needed. I mean, if you can get the job done, who cares if you have 100 high-ranking skills or none at all? The job is done either way and the rest doesn't matter, does it? And the lowest rank, F rank, isn't even allowed to take quests or leave the city. What is this nonsensical system? Because of that, the entire beginning of the story is based on a misunderstanding, because Noor doesn't know that he's actually strong, and thus thinks that an A-rank demon he encounters and kills is just a random mad cow. And because no one in the guild ever bothered to check his strength, they too think that he's weak because of his rank. So, only the princess who saw him fight knows that he is strong and just how strong he is. Well, not only the beginning is based on misunderstandings, it seems the entire show's supposed humor comes from them. The MC faces a situation and his complete lack of education, along with the expectation that he's weak, causes everything to be misunderstood and just reinforces to him that he's weak. But he never says that he's weak, no. He tries to use actions to show it. And again, while he thinks he's weak, everyone else sees massive strength and misunderstands that he's trying to tell them something, so they never say, "You're strong," either. So, the character. The main character is Noor. He's talentless but hardworking. After all, spending 14 years practicing a single skill isn't something easily done. Honestly, he's clueless. He thinks a minotaur is a random cow and a heavily armored warrior is just a family mate. And that's why I like isekai. You're unlikely to get such a situation, since an isekai MC would just know such stuff. And when he gets a clearly priceless sword, and even says that, but then thinks about using it to shovel dirt, I just get annoyed. He wanted to be an adventurer ever since his parents read him stories about them as a kid. So when he learned about them, he made that his goal. And when his mother left this world, he went out and began his training for that. He never gave up. And in the end, all he wants to do is be helpful to the people around him. Alas, his supposed lack in talents makes it hard, since they won't even let him register as a proper adventurer. And that's a bit of a spoiler now, but in the last episode we learn that he isn't actually talentless at all. Turns out he's extremely talented to the point that all 6 strongest adventurers in the country want to train him together. But somehow they all mentioned not to tell him that while he was there at their schools. And he was there for 1.5 years. That just annoyed me even more. The second main character is Linborg Clays.
リンネブルグ・クレイスと申します。長い名前なので冒険者としてはリーンという名前で通しております。お気軽にリーンと呼んでくだされば嬉しいです。
The princess of the country where the show plays, who gets saved by Noor from a minotaur at the beginning. So for the longest time, she's the only one who knows how strong he actually is. That ends with her wanting to be his student and learn from him. But since the whole show is based on misunderstandings, she never explains to him that he is strong, and instead demonstrates her own skills. And it turns out she is extremely talented, and has the ultimate skill of every single class. But she still wants to learn from the guy who thinks he's weak. And, on another note, she reminds me of Astolfo, at least in the looks department. The show uses a lot of still images with panning, and sometimes the fight scenes are lazy as well, just looping the same parry animation again and again. But the music got that low fantasy adventure feeling I like. Both the intro and the outro are pretty much fine. They're free of spoilers and can be watched right away, but then again, they also aren't exceptional and you won't really miss anything if you don't watch them. At least I hadn't watched them until after I was entirely done with the show. On my anime list, they got a rating of 6.88 by 95,000 people, and it received 37 recommendations, 40 neutral reviews and 37 negative reviews, with people generally citing the lacking intelligence of the character and the constant misunderstanding. And there's one review that pointed out, you either like that or you don't, and both sides are right for themselves. I Parry Everything was made by Studio OLM, which I mentioned on this channel before. They made quite a lot of stuff such as Apothecary Diaries, which I intend to watch at some point, Inazuma 11, Yokai Watch, and what seems like all the Pokemon stuff, which is a lot. All in all, they're a pretty experienced studio, and I would say they did a fine job with what source material they were getting. And who should watch this? Well, this will certainly be a treat for you if you like the misunderstanding flavor of comedy. Otherwise, you might like it if you're into fantasy stories. In the end, what's my verdict? While watching episode 1, I already had quite a lot of problems with this show. Not quite enough to drop it straight away, but enough to write this line. And by the time I reached episode 5, I was just plain annoyed. And starting from the 7th episode, I just skipped through all of them. That alone should already tell you enough about how I feel about this show. I did not enjoy it and I simply cannot recommend it. So should you watch I Parry Everything? No. While it's not the worst show I've ever seen, I did not have any fun. And thus, it also does not gain a spot in the top 9. If you want a fantasy show, there are many far better options out there. Aside from the recommendations I always give when it's a fantasy show such as Konosuba, Overlord or Goblin Slayer, if you want something that has the proper adventure feeling and you don't mind if it's an isekai, then Skeleton Knight in Another World is a pretty good recommendation. It's about a guy who woke up in a game he was playing as the character he was playing as. He figures out that he is very strong and he has some massively good equipment and he just goes around being an adventurer. He's extremely hyped about anything that's fantasy, and he's just having a good time. I made a video about this show before. One other show I heard good things about would be Grimgar, Ashes and Illusion. A group of nobodies wakes up in a fantasy world with no skills and is forced to fight goblins even to just eat. It's gritty, emotional and shows the struggle of being an adventurer when you're, well, weak. In the end, this was a rare not recommended video. To be honest, I don't like making negative videos. Why? Well, that would mean not only do I have the work of making the video, but I also have to watch a show I didn't like. And beyond that, Obviously, I would just want every anime to be really good. After all, I'm a fan of anime, and I can only win if there are more good ones. So make sure to give me a recommendation for a good one in the comments, and don't miss the recommended video on the screen right now.
Hey boogie